Spoiler alert for all of Honkai Star Rail and some of Honkai Impact 3rd, because of course there is. Enjoy the video. And then Mikhail, Hanu, Rosalina, and Tiernan all got shawarma, and the people of Penacony lived happily ever after forever. The end. Ah, nice. Another script done. Well, time to play the new update. Hopefully there are no crazy revelations here that'll make me feel obligated to scrap this entire script and start over. Hello, internet people! So, this isn't the Penacony History Part 2, I promise. I'm sorry, one more month. I might even have a guest star for it. 10 points to your Hogwarts house if you can figure out who it is. Today, we're talking about Propagation IPC Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. And yes, I know I just did this song and dance last month, but we need to talk about it again, because Update 2.5 confirmed that Tazy Ronth will be a major factor in the story moving forward as part of this new God Killer protocol. God Slayer protocol? I don't remember. As for the IPC connection, we'll have to wait and see how things play out in-game, but personally, Update 2.5 didn't actually change my opinion on anything in that video. I still stand by everything I said, even that part about the cornerstones. Only difference now is we've got more pieces to this puzzle, literally. See, it's one thing to say the IPC follows propagation, it's another to explain how they plan to get the rest of the galaxy on their side. The Swarm is still widely remembered as a force which nearly tore the galaxy apart. If the IPC were to say, hey, we actually liked that era, they would lose power faster than you can say capitalism. They need to find a way to make the entire galaxy see the Swarm as a good thing. No small feat. But the IPC has a consistent track record of forcing or manipulating large groups of people into accepting, sometimes even enthusiastically, things which they would never have agreed to otherwise. And I think we're seeing that start now. Still confused? Then let's get into the video and I'll explain. Fair warning, I know you're here because of the thumbnail. This video is a bit of a slow burn because I want to take the time to make sure everyone's on the same page by the time we get to the big reveals at the end. But hang in there. When we get there, you'll see why I'm so excited about this. On that note, don't forget to leave your thoughts below after watching. I love hearing your guys' thoughts, anything you might have to add, even evidence against the theory that I might have missed. So don't forget to comment so we can talk about it. Also, little reminder, this is just a theory. Regardless of the amount of evidence for or against this, nothing has been confirmed yet. And Hoyo and the Star Rail writers specifically have a habit of taking things in directions no one could have predicted. All that to say, I welcome disagreements as long as they're civil. And one last thing, I need to formally ask you guys to please not talk about leaks in my comments. Leaks harm my ability to make theories and just generally ruin the experience of the game for me. Aside from the fact that leaks just aren't reliable sources of information, if I'm given correct information out of the context the writers originally intended, it can lead me to draw conclusions that were never meant to be implied, which kneecaps my ability to follow the story well and make good theories from it. And aside from that, the writers have directly expressed that leaks are discouraging for them. They put a lot of work into the big reveals and cool things to give the fans. Imagine how it feels to put months, if not years, of work into an incredible gift to give to someone you care about, only for them to sneak into where you're working on it and see it when it's only half done. Whether they love it or hate it, it ruins the experience you were hoping to give them, and it's a breach of trust. Also, other members of the Star Rail team have explained how much leaks negatively impact the experience of making different aspects of the game, even sometimes going as far as putting people's jobs on the line. So as much as some may see leaks as fun and just part of the gaming experience, I have to ask you to keep them out of the comments. Even if you have incredible conclusions in the rest of your comment, if you talk about or reference leaks to get to those conclusions, fair warning, I will remove the comment. Sorry in advance. Okay, rant done. Thank you for listening. Let's get into this video about Update 2.5. But first, this video is sponsored by Tokyo Treat and Sacuraco. You thought the sponsorship was over? Joke's on you! I have more snack boxes, people! And these might just be the best ones yet. No, that's not me hyping them up. That is a factual statement. Maybe it's both. Guys, in case you hadn't noticed, the weather's getting colder, the trees are turning colors, and is that pumpkin I smell in the distance? That's right, it's spooky season, and Tokyo Treat is keeping up with the times with a fun and exclusive Halloween-themed snack box. These items are so amazing, and I've gotta tell you, these apple pie flavored Kit Kats may just be my favorite item so far. I mean across all the boxes. These aren't just your vaguely apple flavored candies, they put as much love and care into these babies as your grandma when she's making an actual pie. You can taste the apple and the pie. I shared some with my brother, and when I tell you the amount of self-control it took not to eat every last one of them immediately was tremendous. Aside from that, we had these ghost gummies, which were just fantastic. These actually were green apple flavored, and apparently you can peel them into strips and roll them up and eat them all kinds of fun different ways, but I was too busy just eating them to notice until they were almost completely gone. Too bad for me, they were so yummy. This caramel Danish was huge, and it made the perfect breakfast while I was writing this script. And these spooky spicy crackers?
Is it gonna kill me? Yep. That's so hot. Okay, it's actually not that bad, but okay. Never mind, I spoke too soon.
They also had this fruit juice potion, which was really fun and easy to put together. Mine was kiwi, and it was so much fun to drink. The theme for the Sacuraco box this month isn't Halloween, but it is fall. It's Colors of Kyoto, and these artesian snacks are absolutely incredible. Beginning to end, every single one of them is fantastic. Look at this adorable fox! This is a Kitsune Senbei, almost too adorable to eat. Almost. I think my favorite item this month was the Kyoto Arare, and whenever the name Arare is attached to a snack at this point, I already know it's gonna be good. But these were just fantastic. It was a variety of these little bite-sized fried snacks, and these had a few different flavors in them, like crab, shrimp, sesame. One of them was even wrapped in seaweed. Fun fact, I love seaweed. They were so delicious. As I was scripting, there was a bag of sobaboro included in the box, which are these really nice, mild sort of cookies that were lovely to munch on. There were also ginkgo nuts in this month's box, which I'd heard of before from this moment in Arcane, but I thought they were like a fictional snack created for the show. Nope, they actually exist, and I've tried them now. They weren't half bad. Also, the momiji and chestnut wagashi were super delicious, and they showed how they were made by Kakushoan in Kyoto in the booklet. The tea this month is sencha, which is green tea, and as always, I had mine with a little bit of honey. Absolutely wonderful, and a perfectly relaxing drink while I scripted and edited the video, which I needed. But what was even more exciting is I got to drink it out of this cup. This is a floral Kamon Yunomi, and it's this month's household item, and it is so pretty. I feel so refined drinking out of it. Tokyo Treat and Sacuraco want people to be able to experience Japan from the comfort of their own home, but guys, I have now sat down with my brother and started thinking through how we could make a trip to Japan work someday, because I need to visit Japan now. These boxes are freaking amazing, and I am so thankful to Tokyo Treat and Sacuraco for sponsoring my videos. If you want to try these for yourself, or you think a friend would like it, there are 2 links in the description and in the pinned comment for this video. One is for Tokyo Treat, the other is for Sacuraco, and you can use promo code MMA at checkout for a small discount. I earn a commission with each sale, and you get a little taste of Japan. Now let's finally get into this video about Update 2.5, the IPC's next move, and the identity of Diamond. So since I've had a couple people ask for a bit of explanation in this area before, now's a perfect time to do a quick breakdown of exactly how the Xianzhou operates. While we often visit the Xianzhou Lefu in Star Rail, the Xianzhou Alliance is actually a fleet of 6 different Xianzhou ships, each ruled by an arbiter general that roam the galaxy hunting down and destroying the Abominations of Abundance, which are undead creatures created by the Eon of Abundance, Yaoshu. Yaoshu has a habit of healing anything that's hurt or dying, and that in itself may not seem like a huge problem, but rewind and go over that statement again. Yaoshu has a habit of healing anything that's hurt or dying. Anything that's hurt or dying. Anything. So yes, they will heal that cut on your arm good as new, and they'll give you a healing factor that makes you resistant to disease. They'll also make you outlive every person you've ever loved, and when your brain finally starts to crack under the weight of all your past mistakes, you will, no joke, sprout ginkgo branches and live out the rest of your undead life as a walking zombified tree, also known as a Marastruck. And Yaoshu will also grant all the same rights and privileges to the rats that live under your house and chew on your wires. So yeah, they've been known to go a little overkill, including blessing cities full of people and leaving the cities around them to deal with the zombie problem. And that's where the Xianzhou Alliance, professional zombie tree hunters, come in. The Xianzhou Alliance follows the Eon Lan, and they're called the Eon of the Hunt, but if you've looked into the lore, they're basically just there to be the anti-Yaoshu Eon. I haven't watched the Eon Pawns Come in Pairs video by Ashikai. I don't plan to, for reasons, although I'm sure it's amazing. But I have a feeling this is where that theory started. But yeah, basically Yaoshu making some life forms too OP upsets the balance of life and death, so Lan became the Eon of tree zombie hunting to even the scales a bit. And as followers of Lan, the Xianzhou Alliance has done the same thing for the past several thousand years. I'm serious too, this is one of the most ancient civilizations in the Star Rail universe. They might even predate the IPC. It certainly wasn't the galactic superpower it is today when the two groups first encountered each other. And that's part of why the Xianzhou Alliance and the IPC have a long-standing alliance. Now, here's why that's important. Like we just said, this alliance has been around since long before the IPC became the corporate monstrosity it currently is. But that's the problem. The IPC has changed. The Xianzhou Alliance really hasn't. When the IPC comes to a planet, they don't come to make alliances anymore. They come to claim. And yet, because of an agreement that was made thousands of years ago when the IPC was in very different circumstances, this multi-planetary megacorporation, capable of destroying 24 whole planets on a whim, is forced to treat a fleet of 7 little ships as their equals. The IPC can negotiate with the Xianzhou, but it cannot control them, and you just know that rubs them the wrong way. If I know anything about the IPC, they want to put the Xianzhou Alliance under their thumb. But coming in and unilaterally declaring themselves the new charioteers of the Xianzhou would be, to put it bluntly, a PR apocalypse. For as many one-sided deals as the IPC has made, I swear, are they like allergic to truly mutually beneficial deals or something? If they were to publicly stab their longest standing ally in the back, how many more deals could they really expect people to agree to? And on top of that, let's be honest, that kind of brute force just really isn't their style. At least not as an opening move. They care too much about appearances for that. So what else can they do? On Belobog, they used the threat of an old unpaid debt to try and get the planet to agree to terms, but they can't really do that here because, unlike Belobog, the Xianzhou keeps fairly thorough records. And even if they didn't, the people of the Xianzhou lived for hundreds of years. So if the IPC tried to fabricate an unpaid debt for leverage, someone on the Xianzhou was probably there and remembers what actually happened. The IPC doesn't have dirt on them, and the Xianzhou are also fairly self-sufficient, meaning there's nothing the IPC can offer that they can't get for themselves. Basically, none of the magical conquer a civilization for free cards they've pulled out of their back pocket before work here. But as they say, there's more than one way to skin a Tuskber. There is a wide gap between manipulation and straight-up invasion, and the IPC isn't afraid to play dirty. So if their softer tactics of manipulation, blackmail, and coercion are off the table, their next option is something like an undercover takeover. Death by 1,000 cuts, so to speak. Slightly change the wording of a public policy here, add a sneaky little paragraph to public record there, plop an IPC loyalist into a strategic position on the side, and over time, if they're patient and careful, they're able to establish enough leverage for themselves to get the Xianzhou Alliance in their pocket without them even realizing the nature of their relationship has changed. Now, this was the IPC's plan A, if you remember the O'Malley event in 1.4. But unfortunately for them, the IPC sent a dog to do a man's job, and they were both defeated and humiliated by the galactic baseballer. So quick recap, they can't storm the castle, can't blackmail, can't leverage the supply chain, and the person who was supposed to be their inside man was just forced to bark like a dog in public. Woof, 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 woof. So what else can they do? Well, let's just back up and look at what we've seen of their previous negotiations again. In all the negotiations between a Stoneheart and a government that we've seen, there's a specific pattern that the Stonehearts follow. First, they put an offer on the table, and in all 3 cases we've seen, this first offer is rejected or at the very least contested. But they take the rejection gracefully and back off, leaving it on the table. Then they wait. But this waiting period is very important because this is where they engineer things getting worse for their opponent. This is where they pull out the manipulation, the blackmail, the leverage. Topaz stirred up chaos between people groups, Jade threatened to leverage the media to make sure Penacony could never recover. Aventurine didn't have to do anything, he just took advantage of the circumstances already in motion. But the goal of all of this is to make their target desperate. And then, in the middle of the chaos, the Stoneheart comes in and puts the offer forward once more, lowering their price ever so slightly. And as long as they can do their sneaky tactics in a way that doesn't tie it directly to them, this is usually enough to get their opponent to come crawling back to them begging for help, making the IPC the savior rather than the one who caused the problem. If the IPC wants to get the Xianzhou Alliance under control, they need the Xianzhou to be desperate too. But how do they make that happen? Let's quickly consult the classics. Chapter 1.23 of The Art of War says, if your opponent is taking his ease, give him no rest. If his forces are united, separate them. The Xianzhou may be an incredibly ancient and well-established civilization, but any civilization, no matter how old, has natural divisions within it. And any division, even the tiniest hairline fracture, can become a weakness when the people of a civilization are put under enough stress. Despite having a fairly united population, there are actually 3 distinct people groups who call the Xianzhou home. This is the IPC's entry point. The first are the very generically named Xianzhou natives, who are basically indistinguishable from humans except that they're super OP. The second is the Foxians, who are visually distinctive with their ears and tails. Most of them anyway. Interesting note, despite serving Lan and hunting down Yaoshi's monsters, both of these people groups are also technically blessed by Yaoshi. They're descended from people who ate the fruit of the ambrosial arbor, a tree planted by Yaoshi, which dramatically increased their lifespans. But the third people group on the Xianzhou is the most important one right now, the Vidyadhara. You'll often see Vidyadhara NPCs around with pointed ears and occasional scales. They also have a long lifespan, but not because they ate from Yaoshi's tree. They're actually descended from the now deceased Eon of Permanence, ironic, named Long, and so their particular brand of immortality comes with an interesting twist. They basically reincarnate every 600 years or so by entering a human-sized egg, then de-aging over time before hatching as a brand new person, with their old life and memories washed away. This makes them immune to becoming a tree zombie because that's caused by the buildup of unpleasant memories. But here's the problem. Reincarnation is the only way they're able to reproduce. There's a set number of Vidyadhara in existence, and while they are extremely resilient and will just go into an egg and be reborn if they get too badly injured, if one of them dies before that process is able to take place, that's one less Vidyadhara in the galaxy forever. They can't make new ones. Actually, that might be a lie. Elder Tauran said there's a way individuals of other species could be turned into Vidyadhara when they die. I think that is the transmutation arcanum we've heard mentioned so often. Transmuting other species into Vidyadhara. Very illegal on the Xianzhou. The point is, the IPC needs to create division on the Xianzhou, and with the Vidyadhara already desperate to avoid extinction, but being held back by the laws of the Xianzhou Alliance, they have a perfect target. And then the IPC aims them right at the Foxians. This attack is the backbone of the 2.5 storyline. The IPC provides resources for the Borisin, a species of wolf people who are the natural enemies and would-be captors of the Foxians. To break into the shackling prison and break out Hule, the warhead, chief, and broodmaster of the Borisin. And the IPC's involvement in this is fairly explicit in-game. Not only were the Borisin mechs made by the Intelligentsia Guild, a branch of the IPC, but Scott, a known IPC agent, was given the task of making sure the mechs were detained in the shackling prison. Once in, the mechs activated on their own and cleared the way for the Borisin to come in and release Hule. Hule then goes on a rampage involving him threatening to transmute, the Foxians of the Xianzhou into Borisin. But of course, he's ultimately thwarted by Fei Zhao and Yan Qing with a little help from Jiao Chou. So yeah, the Vidyadhara are allied with the Borisin, pitted against the Foxians, and then the Foxians were pitted unwillingly against everyone else. And suddenly, everyone's either fighting each other or at the very least, too busy trying to survive their own problems to help each other. Feels very similar to the Belobog situation, almost eerily so. Wouldn't surprise me if Topaz was here for more than the war dance. But why does this matter? The Borisin lost. Elder Tauran lost, which means the IPC lost. Except they didn't. The IPC are not dumb, okay? They knew that the Borisin were too weak to take down the Xianzhou Luofu, even with Hule on their side. And the very reason the Vidyadhara are so desperate is because there are so few of them. If the IPC were actually planning to cripple the Xianzhou, they would have chosen more powerful allies. But they didn't. They planned to lose. But why? What was it Fei Zhao said?
When you surround your enemy, leave one side open for them to escape.
Let's just say that the Xianzhou Alliance aren't the only ones who know how to hunt, and the IPC knows how to make sure their escape route leads directly into their open arms. After 2.5, the Xianzhou isn't desperate. Not yet, but they're tired. They've been facing threat after threat after threat for months now. The Stellaron, the Ambrosial Arbor, the return of Don Feng, the Heliobi, all the excitement around Oromali, and now the Borisin. They still believe all these threats are coming from Lord Ravager Fantilia, not the IPC, but either way, they need a break. A way to stop all the chaos long enough to have some rest. And remember that little Stoneheart negotiation pattern we were talking about earlier? In the context of that pattern, this is usually the part where the IPC's opponent returns to them asking about the deal they put on the table earlier. But in this case, the deal in question seems to be missing. There should already be a contract floating around out there, waiting for the Xianzhou to be just desperate enough to take it. But where is it? Enter Luocha, a character who, aside from being one of the best healers in the game, has been almost completely neglected since the end of 1.2. All we really know is Luocha isn't his real name. He claims to be some kind of merchant, and he carries around a coffin for some reason. And on a surface level, that's all the information we have. But we can figure out a handful of other things if we pay attention. For one, did you know he's IPC? This is a very easy detail to miss because it's part of an optional exchange with him during an adventure mission, and neither he nor the game treat it as anything important, but it's there. He says it himself. And he is the one who approaches Jing Yuan with a deal. A way Luocha, read the fine print, the IPC, can help the Xianzhou defeat Yaoshi the Abundance once and for all by offering them the power of Taiziranth the Propagation. Of course, Jing Yuan rejected that deal immediately because, dude, it's the freaking swarm. But with wave after wave after wave of attacks being levied against the Luofu ever since then, that deal is starting to look better and better. And there it is. The Stoneheart's negotiation pattern once again on full display. Offer a deal, get rejected, take it gracefully, and then wait and make your opponent desperate until they come crawling back. And this is the start of the IPC reframing the swarm as not just a bad thing, but a potential savior. But there's still one last thing that doesn't make sense to me. Like I said at the beginning, I still stand by my theory that the cornerstones also hold fragments of Taiziranth, but whether that particular detail is true or not, the reveal of the contents of Luocha's coffin confirms that the IPC does have at least part of the remains of Taiziranth in their possession. However many pieces of this bug they have, these are some of the most valuable and dangerous items in the universe. I mean, it's the remains of a freaking eon. So why would they entrust them to a random merchant? The answer is, they wouldn't. Strap the heck in, everyone! This is about to get wild. So who is this guy? Like I said, we know precious little about this man. We don't even know his real name. So if we're going to learn more about him, we need to look for other kinds of clues. Thankfully, there are a handful scattered around. After the Stellaron crisis on the Luofu, they ask the Trailblazer, March, and Mr. Yang to help track down the person responsible for it. And while looking through photos of the suspects, we get this moment from Mr. Yang. Flashback images of him drinking with a blonde man on a train, and there's very little doubt that this is Luocha. Luocha is someone Mr. Yang has a history with, and when you dig a bit, you find references to this same blonde man in both Mr. Yang's and Himiko's character stories, where we learn that he traveled with them on the Express as a nameless before leaving for unknown reasons. He's even in the back of Mr. Yang's splash art, but there's even more than that to be found here. Anyone who takes an interest in Mr. Yang knows he's not precisely from the Star Rail galaxy. He's from the universe of another Hoyoverse game called Honkai Impact 3rd. You know, the game Star Rail is collaborating with in the not-so-distant future. And this flashback, these images are yoinked directly from a Honkai Impact 3rd cutscene. And both Mr. Yang and this man ended up on the Astral Express after accidentally entering a portal. The reason this is important is because while Luocha may be a riddle wrapped up in a mystery in the Star Rail universe, when you understand where he comes from, he has an entire game's worth of backstory. I'm gonna eventually do a full breakdown on him because this guy might be one of the most important characters in the Hoyoverse, right alongside Bronya, Mr. Yang, and Paimon. Yes, I said what I said. Don't hate me. It's actually true and I have proof. Believe me, I wish I didn't. But for today, what you need to know is this man actually isn't even a man at all. It's an ancient entity known as Void Archives, which usually takes the form of a golden cube, but currently is taking the form of a man named Auto Apocalypse, who formerly imprisoned Void Archives for 500 years. Basically, judging from Mr. Yang's and Himiko's character stories and the recent collaboration announcement, Welt and Void Archives once had a tentative alliance. They were traveling companions, more or less, and boarded the Astral Express together as Nameless. But Void later left the Express without even saying goodbye, and we can assume joined the IPC. Now pause, because a former Nameless in the IPC? That rings a few bells. I mean, I'm sure there's more than one former Nameless in the IPC, but don't you think Otto sounds a little bit like Oswaldo? And I do find it interesting that when Boot Hill demands Oswaldo's location from Aventurine, at gunpoint no less, Nevertheless, the very next place we see Boot Hill pop up is on the Xianzhou, Luocha's last known location. And by his own admission, Boot Hill ain't there to fudge and play around. He's not there for the war dance, he's there to make a point. He's hot on the trail of the man who slaughtered his planet, and he's not afraid of them knowing he's after them. Up to this point, Oswaldo Schneider has been framed as a dangerous person who wields power recklessly, yes, but he may be a far more dangerous enemy than we've even realized. But guys, I have a gut feeling this goes even further.
Thousands of tears later.
Or rather, I had a gut feeling when I first dove into this concept. I've now had to rewrite the last section of this script four times because I keep finding more proof. Just check my tweets. A week ago, I would have been the first to admit that this last part sounded a bit insane, but now I am not so sure. Let's back up to the part where Luocha is Void Archives, because this thing is here to do more than look pretty. It does things, okay? Basically, its main ability is, don't laugh, it mimics any power it's capable of comprehending. I am just not beating the FNAF theorist allegations at this point, am I? That would mean that even though Luocha is an abundance character, Void Archives could technically replicate the power of any Pathstrider he comes across. But you know what's even crazier? There is another character in Star Rail who's theorized to have this exact same ability. The theory is that Diamond has the ability to replicate the power of each of the individual cornerstones, almost as if he himself is a diamond, catching light and refracting it outward again. Not only is Void Archives potentially connected to Oswaldo by being a former Nameless, he is also connected to Diamond. Well, potentially. Here's the problem with that. The only thing really connecting Void Archives to Diamond is a theory I heard ages ago on the internet, and I'll be completely honest, I didn't even really bother to fact check it. Although it does make sense on a surface level. If I really want to say there's a connection between Luocha and Diamond, I need something a little more solid. In fact, I had more than half a mind to scrap this last section of the video because as cool as a Diamond connection sounds, it just didn't have anything holding it up besides a gut feeling and a dream. Until I found this. This is obviously a very stylized picture of Diamond. My guess is some IPC employee took artistic liberties, but it's all we have, and it's actually all we need. Guys, I know of 2 characters in this game, not counting Intellitrons, who have hands made of iron, but I only know of one with a hand made of gold. Luocha, or should I say Void Archives, is Diamond. And when you actually start looking, the hints aren't even subtle. I've been frantically editing all week trying to get this online because I've been so scared someone's gonna realize this and get their own video out first because dudes, it's so obvious in hindsight. Not only is Luocha a Stoneheart, he's the first one we ever met. He was in the beta trailer. If he has his cornerstone with him, if he even needs one, he'd still be able to communicate with the other Stonehearts, but it would explain why no one's seen him lately, and why all his decisions are being passed through Pearl, Opal, and Diamond, cause he's in the shackling prison on his own mission. How did we miss this? But believe it or not, there is one last little handhold to reach for in this theory, because even though there's evidence for Luocha being Diamond, there's still plenty of evidence for him being Oswaldo. So which is he? Well, here's the thing. The more I dig through the lore, the story, the character backgrounds, the more I realize I can't find even one reason why Diamond and Oswaldo Schneider couldn't be the same person. Hear me out, I have evidence. Believe it or not, this is something that Void Archives and Auto Apocalypse, his former user, have a long history of doing. Playing both sides and pitting them against each other like a chess game to receive a desired outcome. I mean, he's basically Palpatine, and it would explain so much. It would explain why Diamond doesn't let anyone see him, not even the Stonehearts, and it would explain why the IPC is so internally divided. Luocha is playing Oswaldo Schneider on one hand and Diamond on the other, pitting his departments against each other to keep them distracted so they don't look up. It's literally the same tactic we've seen the Stonehearts use now on the Xianzhou and on Belobog. But Diamond is the one they learned it from. He's betting on both sides so that no matter who wins, he wins. And no one is even going to realize they've been duped until it's too late. Internet people, I don't know what to say right now. I started this video feeling absolutely insane, and now I feel somehow both less and more insane than when I started. I don't even know how to wrap this video up, so I'm sorry, I'm not even gonna try. My head is reeling. Check out Tokyo Treat and Sacuraco in the description and the pinned comment. Use code MMA at checkout. I'm gonna go try to recover. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay kind. I'll see you all next month. Oh my gosh. What even is this?